Hello and welcome to Mastering Microsoft Excel video series. This is video number 22, Pivot Table Part 5, the final part of the pivot table journey. In this video, we are going to learn about advanced level concepts of the pivot table like calculated field and calculated item. So without much ado, let's get into the Excel screen and let's try to understand what is this calculated field and what is this calculated item. So the file I'm using is the same file we've been using for the 4 videos. Okay, let's go ahead and create pivot table for this data. I'm going to go ahead and create it. So we have product category and the bill amount. Let's say I want to do some calculation on the summarized value. So I want to create a column just next to this pivot table called discount, which is 10% of this value. Okay, so I want to create a column called discount, which is 10% of this value, and I want to create another column which is called after discount. Okay, so how do I create a column in the pivot table? I want to create a field which is a part of the pivot table, and that field is a result of calculations with the existing field. Let me repeat again. I want to create two fields here. One field is called discount, which is 10% of the bill amount, and the other field is I want to create something called after discount, which is the total bill amount minus the discount. I want to get that value. So I want to create two new fields as a part of my pivot table. Okay, so I don't want to sit and create that in the data. I don't want to do it because this is going to increase my data file size, which I don't want to do it. Imagine if I have a voluminous data, in that if I'm going to go ahead and create two more columns with the formulas, definitely it's going to load up my file size, which I don't want to get into it. So I want to create two fields here. So whenever you want to do some calculations with the existing fields and create a new fields based on it, then you need to use a feature called calculated field. Now you might think that why can't I do this simply by selecting equal to this multiplied with 10%. As I go ahead and select, you could see that it is supposed to show me the reference before, but instead I'm seeing something else. This is where it creates an issue. So when I go ahead and drag this, I get to see the same value. It is not because of this dollar sign. It is picking up every single value which is inside the pivot table and calculates based on it. So how do we do it in pivot? Let's go ahead and check it out. So click inside the pivot table. Let's go to the analyze tab of the pivot table and let's go to the field which says calculation. This is what I was talking about. Yeah, so let's click on this fields, items and sets where I could see something called calculated field. So I'm going to click on it and it's asking me, hey, what's the name you want to give for this new field? So I want to give the name discount. That's the name I want to give it. And I come to the next box where it says equal to 0. I'm going to delete the 0. And what's your calculation for the discount? So that will be bill amount. I'm going to double click on the word bill amount here, or you could select the bill amount and use this button. That will also insert the field in this box right now. So once you got the bill amount there, and that will be multiplied with 10%, which is my actual logic. And when I click OK, now you could see it has created a new field called discount, which you could see in the field list, and it has become part of my pivot table. What's the next field I want to create? After discount, which is the difference between the bill amount and the discount amount. So I'm going to go back to the fields, items and sets, calculated field, and I'm going to give the name here as after discount, and this is going to be the difference between the bill amount minus discount. And I want to click OK, and that's your after discount. Now watch closely. When you see a field in the field list but you don't see that field in the data, then it is obviously calculated field. So calculated field are created to do some calculations inside the pivot table on the existing fields to derive to a new field. Okay, so what's the advantage of this? Now rather than manually doing in the next columns, watch this, I can study this by sales territory now. I can see this by any way I want to do it. So I can now deactivate the bill amount and take out the discount. I can study what's the territory wise and product wise after discount performance. Okay, all these because they have become a part of my pivot table, so that lets me to do a lot of calculations around or analysis around. So I can even take this out and bring the date into the picture, and I can study after discount what is the revenue we got, yeah, yearly. Or I can also do date grouping, number grouping, text grouping, all are open. You can use this field at your discretion. All right, so that is what the power we're talking about when it comes to calculated field. Okay, so in case if you receive a file from someone else and you want to know, are they using calculated field, is there any logic behind those, what's the calculation logic behind those calculated field? If you want to check it, all you got to do, just come back to the analyze tab, fields, items and sets, calculated field. If you click the drop down, it's going to show you how many ever calculated fields a person has created. Everything going to be listed for you. Just choose the calculated field for which you want to know the logic, the calculation logic. It's going to display that. And if I go ahead and choose the next one, it shows it shows the calculation logic behind it. So in case if you don't want the calculated field, if you want to remove it, suggestion, and it's a very important point to keep it, always make sure that is not part of your pivot table when you are deleting the calculated field. Keeping them as a part of your pivot table, and if you try to delete it, you might land into the not responding mode issues. Okay, your system might not respond, it will go to the not responding very often. So it's better make sure that it's not part of the pivot table layout, and you can go right now to the same place and pick up the one which you want to delete, choose that and delete. Likewise, I can delete the other one as well, and there's no more calculated field. Both are removed and it is removed from the field list as well. I can bring back the bill amount, and that's your calculated field. So I've shown you how do you create a calculated field, how do you view a calculated field, how do you delete a calculated field, how do you know there is a calculated field. I've shown you all the options related to the calculated field. Okay, now we are moving to the second half of the video, which is calculated item. So when I say calculated item, it is the calculation between the values of a particular column. Example, let's take a very simple example here is I want to add all these three, ICV, LCV, MCV. I want to add these three and I want to show that as one of the entity. Okay, so in the data itself, I don't want to show them as a separate entity. I want to show them as one entity. So how do I do it? Because if I'm going to group it, this will become a different group then. So I don't want to group it. I want to keep it as a normal pivot. I don't want to do any grouping, but I want to just sum of these three and show it in one category. So let's say I'm going to show these three under one category called primary. So how do I add these three? So now I want to do a calculation between the values of a field. Values of which field? Product category. So I'm just going to click any one of the item in this product category. I go to the analyze tab. I go to the fields, items and sets. Now this time I'm going to go for calculated item. And the name I want to give for this is primary. And the calculation logic is here I've got to do, because this is related to the fields, this is related to the items. So I'm just going to double click on the word ICV plus LCV plus MCV. So that's what I want to show it as into one tag called primary. Okay, so when I'm going to click OK, so what's going to happen is these three values will get added and will come under the category primary. But along with that, these three guys will also be still coming inside. Okay, so what will happen in that case is this total, primary total, as well as these three values total will get added up in the overall. So we will be overshooting the grand totals while you're presenting it. So we need to be very cautious when you bring in calculated items here. So I'm going to just say, okay, watch the total. Okay, now the total got shooted up so high. So the reason is we got that primary now. So these three guys we should not be showing anymore. So I'm going to go to this drop down and I'm going to deselect ICV, LCV, MCV. Now we are in the right way of presenting the data. So those three I'm not showing it, but still it's a part of the pivot table, and we could present those three under one category called primary. Okay, so if you don't want to go for grouping because that disturbs the look and feel of your pivot, you want to do some kind of a strange calculation like this plus this minus this, or half of this value is one category or something like that. When you want to do it on the values of a particular field, calculated item is your choice. That's what I've shown you right now. Again, just like the calculated fields, in case if you want to know what's the logic behind these, so you can click anywhere in the pivot table on the category, any one of the category of that, go to the calculated item and click the drop down. It will show you what's the logic behind that calculated item. Yeah, again, when you want to delete it, you can directly delete the you don't have to worry about removing it from the part of the pivot table. Just like your field, you can simply delete it and click OK, and we have just removed it from the pivot table, and we can bring those guys again into the picture. Okay, and that takes us to the end of this video. In this video I've shown you what is calculated field and what is calculated item. Calculated field is something which you need to think about when you want to do calculation between the fields of the pivot table. Calculated item is something which you have to think about when you want to do calculation between the values of a particular column. So think wisely and make your choice when you want to do it. And remember, the place where you went for the creation is the place where you have to go for viewing the logic. That's the same place you have to go for deleting them as well. All right, so the file will be available in the description section with the downloadable link. Do download, start creating the pivot table, create some calculated field, create some calculated item, check out how do they respond to you. In case if you face any challenges, do mention in the comment section. I would love to help you, and we'll catch up another interesting input in another video. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.